Hi there, the name's Nico, and today I am covering 5 tips for beginners to help you advance your gameplay. My first tip is to make good food. I remember when I first started out, I was just eating bread because I had no idea what food was good. Now I know exactly what food to make on my route that provides at least 600 HP, except some temple routes that make food with 500 HP. Having good food for early fights is ideal. You don't need a lot of early food, you just need enough until you finish your build, then you can prepare more food. I check out my food guide to learn more about food in detail. But to know what food to make on your route, I would go to doc.gg under their consumable tab. Eventually, you'll know what food is in each zone and what you can make on your own behalf without this tool, but this is very helpful for beginners. My second tip is using console and cameras. I would never understand why anyone would want to use the console when I first started playing the game because it felt like a waste of time, but having vision can mean life or death. You should always get console when you can, starting by night 1. Really, any later means death. You should always collect surveillance cameras and have at least one spot in your inventory for them. Batstrap surveillance cameras guaranteed, which wasn't a thing when I first started, but this is definitely a good change. You can also find cameras in these zones. You want to turn surveillance cameras into telephoto cameras, and you can do this by combining surveillance cameras and binoculars. Binocular zones are located here. There are 2 other types of cameras, recon drones and EMP drones, but they are not nearly as used, and I want to keep this simple. Tip number 3, farming animals. A lot of beginner players don't have a lot of animal kills or hunt on them. Having a lot of animal kills is especially important if you do not have a lot of kills. Once you are finished with your build and you are not fighting someone, you should be killing all the animals you passed. Eventually you'll learn where the animals spawn since the position of the animals never change, but here's a map of where animals will spawn. The best animals to farm are wolves and bears. These mobs can drop rare materials. Wolves can drop mithril, meteorite, and moonstones. Bears can drop powder of life, forest cores, via blood samples, mithril, meteorite, and moonstones. These rare materials can only drop after they have been killed once prior, meaning once the wolves are not level 3 and the bears are at level 5. So you want to kill these animals when they are low level so that they will respawn to give you rare items. The earlier the better. Tip number 4 is seeing what items and weapon mastery your opponent has. Weapon mastery increases your attack speed, normal attack damage, and skill damage, and for Nanthapon specifically, your cooldown reduction. There's a new feature in the game that allows you to see the weapon mastery as well as how many kills you and your opponent have over their heads. You can press Alt for it to appear temporarily, but if you want this feature to stay up the whole time, press F8. I don't know why they don't specify this, but this is a really useful feature. It allows you to easily see if you are ahead or behind at a quick glance without needing to press tab. If someone has lower weapon mastery than you, you are more likely to win, while if you have a lower weapon mastery than your opponent, they are more likely to win. There can be some matchup differences, but in general, this decides on who can win. Having better items can also determine a matchup. To check what items your opponent has, you can press tab. When attacking someone, you can see their items in the top left corner, but often I'm not paying attention to those stats when I'm in a fight, so I find tabbing easier to do. And my last tip is knowing when you should leave a zone. A lot of beginner players will remain in a zone for way too long and get behind as a result. A bunch of new features have been added since I started to show new players this, such as the glowing yellow triangles versus the non-glowing yellow triangles. If the item is glowing, it means that for your build, you can only find it in that zone. If it is not glowing, it means you can find it in a different zone later on in your build route. But even then, I would say that unless it is needed for your weapon, I would just leave the zone and go to a different zone to get the items you need. There's also crafting trees you can see what items you need for anything in your build, including your weapon, if you click on an item at the top right of the screen. This will come naturally to you the more you play, as I know I am at a point where I can tell you where all the raw material are, except the basic weapons like crossbows, without needing to look it up. Another feature they added is that it shows you where each item your build needs on the minimap if you press Alt. This way you don't need to memorize where all the items are. And that's my 5 beginner tips. If you have any other tips, you can let me know in the comments. And if you like this guide, please consider giving a like. It lets me know if you like these types of videos. And if you like Eternal Return as much as I do, consider subscribing. I hope to see you in the next video.